some props. This is a tractor, everyone. So. Anyway, my name's Sicko. It's my first talk here, and happy to be in the US. Today I'm going to be discussing tractors and the importance of hacking the agriculture and food supply chain. So let's get stuck into it. Just letting you know that all of the research today is conducted in good faith. Nobody paid for it. Nothing today represents my employers, clients, etc. Both past and future. All the content in the slides size is CC0, and all the other trademarks, logos belong to their respective owners. Just so you know, I've never actually owned a tractor. I'm not an expert, and I'm always learning, so it's always a cat and mouse game. So I'm also not a farmer, and I'm not an expert again. So there might be some more. There's plenty to come. So in the last 12 months, I've just been basically having a look at tractors. I've never actually been inside one. I've never actually owned one. And I'm not even fascinated by tractors, but it just so happened that someone dared me to actually have a crack at finding a CVE in one of them, and next minute I became the de facto tractor guy for some reason. But it turned out it's pretty important because the whole country runs on agriculture and mining and gas and things like that. Actually, most countries do actually. So, this was the first example of an attack that happened in the last 12 months, which was the Colonial Pipeline attack, which is pretty obvious. Took over massive gas pipeline, natural gas, oil, things like that. And then after that, we had JBS Foods, which they paid the massive $11 million ransom of, and that was an enormous ransom for something that was actually being handled by the FBI and the USDA and probably every other organization there was. Same thing there. Got bare shelves because there was nothing to slaughter the beef and the poultry and the chicken. And then we had the co-ops, which was shortly after that, which was $5.9 million ransomware paid. And then recently, AGCO had a ransomware attack. This is only a month ago, and they just recovered allegedly recently. And that was during US planting season. So, significant impacts to the ability for farmers who have AGCO equipment and stuff to actually plant seeds. So, and this has all been in about 1 year. So, as I said, FBI, Department of Transport, $5 million paid. This one here, JBS Foods, there was literally, what are they called? Semis full of animals sitting at the slaughterhouse waiting to actually get processed, but they couldn't because everything was offline because they'd been ransomware. $11 million bounty paid. AGCO had secrets stolen, and they reported that, significant data exfiltration has happened, which is obviously a concern because, if someone's got your firmware, your internal documents, you're pretty much, you don't know what they can do with it. Obviously, you've got to change everything. As I said, they're in-depth and lengthy remediation and recovery is required. And follow-on attacks, this is directly from AGCO's statement, follow-on attacks may be or expected. I think this is a quote from cops. I think it's like, cops have to get lucky every day. But sorry, cops only need to get lucky once, and you need to get lucky every day. Like driving unlicensed or something like that. But manufacturers, they need to get lucky every day, and hackers only need to get lucky once to find a vuln. So this is the black screen of death on a John Deere tractor. I'm pretty sure this is the Windows CE version. I may be slightly wrong, but it looks like it's crashed into recovery mode, and given the font, it's obviously looking like that's the black screen of death on the John Deere. You can see it in the top little bit there. It's covered in MOG, which is matter other than grain, which I've learned. So a couple of things to keep in mind. Ag is super competitive. There's an ongoing arms race, and autonomous farming has arrived. It's quite scary, but it's not necessarily bad. I mean, this is a lithium, it's lithium powered tractor. And, I think that's, it can pull, it can go and automatically plant your field and things like that, water stuff. So competition brings speed brings errors, human errors, mistakes, things like that. And I just wanted to pose a question. What happens when your hardware leaves the factory? So if you're a manufacturer, you're basically exporting your entire code base to somebody. Like the tools nowadays, you've got IDA, you've got Binary Ninja, you've got, decompilers. You can actually bring that actual compiled code straight back into source. So you're practically exporting your entire code base to clients and customers. So all of the old hardware that you've got out there, if you're a manufacturer, is just sitting there waiting to be looked at, which is kind of what I've got here. Yeah. So this is like a John Deere Telematics Gateway. It's really heavy. It can stand up to 85 Gs of force. It's got like Wi-Fi, Ethernet, which is automotive Ethernet, SIM card, cellular, GPS, cellular, and I think there's another one that's got even more of that, but we'll jack into this in a little bit. The unintended recipient would be me. So I've got 4 of these at home. They've got the 3G ones. Like I'm trying to make a bit of a collection, make sure I've got all the different versions and stuff like that, because I want to compare what's been changed and see the change log of files and things like that and see what's been fixed. And then the old ones have obviously got the vulns still. So this stuff gets sold on TikTok, eBay, auction websites, wreckers, which is common, dealerships, obviously. And then a lot of farmers actually use Facebook and Instagram to sell their equipment. So it's really hard to actually keep track of where stuff goes, which country it gets exported to, and whether or not that violates arms things and things like that. But, so once it leaves the factory floor, you've got the online FCC filings, trade secrets hidden in plain sight. All of the comments in the code you've left in there, they're all there as well. So this is the John Deere FCC filing code. I'm pretty sure it's OB5, but there's quite a number of items in there, and I've got a couple of scripts that just download the archives here. As you can see here, it's probably impossible to read, but it says internal photos. And they're new stuff. They don't actually, I think they released one about last week. And it had no internal photos this time. So this one has internal photos, which I've got here. And this is what I've got here as well. If I can crack it open. Yeah, it's the same thing. But these are impossible to get apart. They actually rip the NAND flash off the board when you de-aluminiumize it, if that's probably a word. But yeah, it's they're a weapon, and I've cut myself multiple times trying to open those things. So yeah, this guy, I don't know how this guy opened it. So mine's all busted up. The glue on there is the same glue as your telephone, so it's like that Gorilla Glue, but there's a lot of it, and it's pretty much, you've got to heat it up, and then you've got risk of destroying the board. But it's okay because you can just buy another one on eBay. There's plenty available, and they drop down in price. I mean, these are just flying out the door. $150. You've got 31 of them available. $99. And that's one of my ones. I've got 4 of them. That's one of them. Let's chuck that there. Yeah, so this one actually came without a case. It's a factory. It was a Mexican factory unit that, for some reason, didn't have any epoxy or that case on it. It literally just came from the factory. So it was quite strange. Don't know where it came from. Whether it fell off a truck or something like that. But had a go at it. like I said, I'm not an expert. Had a crack at the JTagulator, which is, I've got one upstairs, but that's the JTagulator, and the creator of it sitting in the front row. So yeah, it's Joe Grant. Fantastic device. I tried to hook up to these pins up here, and I think that's how they program it. They won't tell me, obviously, but I assumed it was JTag or KTag, apparently, automotive stuff. Someone will probably know a lot more about KTag than me, but so it was just spitting out jargon, and I was going to say it should be illegal to actually try and attempt to crack in a JTag without a JTagulator, because it's if you haven't used one before, if you're not aware of how it works, it just permeates goes through all the permutations of every single combination of the JTag pinout that you need, and it'll just spit data at you. And they've actually told me that the data they got here is jargon anyway. It's not actually real, and that's because I was doing it wrong. And I also doing it wrong, and that was my first attempt, and then I dropped it, and then I just destroyed it, and the only little bit left was those tiny little dots, the tiny little pinouts. And I was having a crack at it, just going through all these little combinations of JTag. Oh yeah, this little thing here. This is this little CJMCU 232H. If you want to get into hardware hacking, just buy that. It's like $5. It's got it's got UART, SPI. It's even got a logic analyzer as well. It's really weird. It's like a really cheap board. It's a FTDI. Mega cheap. So I left the device alone for a month and engaged with other hackers. So sent a few emails out. For example, Joe was helping me out for a bit. And turns out the flash was actually empty. So the whole time we've been working on the device, it was actually factory blank. So we were getting literally zeros. And I couldn't understand why. But it turns out it was factory blank. So that's a hot air gun. I've got one here, but it's this one's probably a bit too big. It looks like a hairdryer, but it's you'd probably destroy the board if you actually had a crack at that one. But I bought this one the other day when I had a few beers, and it'd probably work, because once you actually take that NAND flash off, you don't actually need the rest of the board anymore, because you can chuck that inside one of these. So this is like a little socket for NAND, and just pop the hood, chuck that like that, and then just chuck it in there. So that fits in there, and then just close that, chuck that in there, and then you can mount it into the PC. So obviously you got to clean it off first, because it's a mess, and you can see it actually took off the rails. It took off half the actual PCB when we took it off. And I've done a couple of these now, and it rips it off every time. And I've heard from other people it also rips theirs off as well. So yeah, that's the socket thing. It's I believe they didn't actually think that the sockets would be available commercially before they actually put that on the board, because it's unencrypted and you can just read right to that disk and actually put it back on the board with hot air gun as well. So it's universal. So you can see that's an upside down NAND on a Samsung. I bought a box of just old Samsungs. If you want to practice with taking off chips and stuff, and you don't want to destroy one of those, even though that you can get them on eBay easily, I recommend just going down a mobile phone shop and asking them for a box of destroyed Androids, and then you get you got a practice board. You can just keep ripping off chips, destroying boards, burning things. It's pretty easy to do that, actually. Yeah. So once we got it off, just a full root file system. So, after you do that, you've got, that's it. You don't even need the board anymore. You don't need the NAND anymore. You can duplicate this. You can split it up. And obviously I did that. So we've got a couple of partitions here. And I just moved everything into one and just shoved it in a Docker file. And just did literally, that's the beauty of Docker, just from scratch, because it's got everything in that actual, inside that actual directory. Just add all the files in there and then just run the init. So I ran it on x86, even though it's supposed to be running on Intel Atom. But as you can see here, we've got a screen here. What I will point out, one of the vulnerabilities I believe is true, is that you can turn off and on engineering mode before you log in. So that should probably be behind the login screen. Because obviously you would have, if you turn on engineering mode, you'd probably be able to disable login or something like that. So, this is the HTTP page running on it. So it's probably a lot more stuff to muck around with there. It doesn't quite, it's not, it's nice. It's nice. The temp folder was not in RAM. I'm not sure how common that is on Intel Atom, but yeah, there was files in there. So usually, on Linux and things like that, the temp folder gets smashed after boot, but someone can correct me if that's wrong, but on devices like that. But we had, a bunch of databases, things to edit in there, like the onboard Wi-Fi password, jobs, S3 file transfer service, UXDB, obviously there, section control, which is how you line up the tractor and things like that. Just activations, which is another thing that we won't talk about today because it's activations of software and things like that. So what I did discover as well was we found a subscribe published CPP example, which was the sample code from AWS to hook up your device over MQTT. And if anyone's not familiar with MQTT, it's message framework, or that's how I understand it to be. But you subscribe to it and you talk to the other devices on the network, and ended up finding the private key and the public key. And those files actually are in the same directory as this file as well. That root CA, available port, everything like that. So plain text. And I actually sent that to Deere, and they told me that it was actually common to every single device. So my face was, I had a big smile on my face thinking that I could see every single tractor in the world hooked up on the same MQTT network. So we had a crack at that, and it was actually on every single device. However, the key wasn't actually in use. So it was a dev key left in prod, but that's literally me right there. So like imagine finding a key that is like a common to every device and it's just sitting there in prod. So, but it was an indicator to keep, to keep going, to keep actually finding stuff, because if there's other keys, if that key's lying, then there's probably going to be more keys hanging around. And another cool thing was protocols. So there was a whole bunch of, a metric ton of, I think I'm going to be quick, eh? Metric ton of shared objects here that, would be worth decompiling. That's all the CAN bus stuff, which is pretty helpful. And I assume that some people would benefit from that. I personally don't have a tractor. I can't actually do much with that. But there would be other people like powertrain technicians or people who want to create isobus apps, which is like if you've done like audio stuff before, it's kind of like a VST, but for tractors. And the 500K baud rate, I assume that's standard for CAN bus. And then, these are really valuable objects that people have been apparently asking for from the manufacturer for a while. So, as I understand it. So, yeah. And then, another one we found was the Yum repo, which is public, not public, but the username and password was hard-coded into the device. But it didn't really need a password anyway because it was just kind of an obfuscation technique. Username and password, I think the password was spring 2013, so it wasn't too hard to guess. It hasn't changed for 9 years. So the username and password, you can capture that if you download the download manager and then just sniff your own traffic and it'll send it out over HTTP. So it was there, and it was also on the device. So it's on every device, the same repo. I downloaded the next slide. 4,000 RPMs off that repo, which is about 250 gigs of John Deere firmware that I want to look at and have a play with. Then they turned off the repo directory listing, so I've got to muck around with that for a bit. Used to be just one massive listed 4,000 RPMs. Yeah, obviously just set up a script and downloaded them all. So I just wanted to say that it's pretty imperative. Like, I haven't even scratched the surface, and there needs to be a lot of work done because it's like a $400 billion company. There's a bunch of other companies getting ransomware, and not many people are actually looking at it. I feel a bit alone looking at it. So, the bare minimums you'd probably need to have a crack at it is just a hot air gun, a soldering iron, and one of these flash readers. And then you can just hack into pretty much like every device that has an eMMC. Like, the hot air gun's pretty important because you want to take off the chip. You can't really do that with a soldering iron, and that's probably the only prohibitive thing, actually. And the soldering iron's just to clean off the chip after because otherwise it won't read in that. You could take it off with the hot air, so you could get away with just hot air and the flash reader, but you'd probably be at a stretch. So this is the other one. This is another device that I'm looking at from Deere, and that's the LBGA 100 chip. They call it FPGA. That one also has a socket, and you just interchange it with that. I just wanted to get into secondhand chips. So these are, I just saw these on like for sale, and I was thinking, and ended up buying a whole bunch of NAND flash because some of the NAND flashes that we wanted to use are actually out of production and you can't get them anymore. So you have to go for secondhand chips or fake ones, and ended up getting a tray of 32 gig NANDs from Israel, and they're actually 32 megs when I got them and opened it up, 32 megabytes. So I think I was scammed with that one actually, but these obviously processors or whatnot, but some of them actually got, they've actually got stuff left on the device. Obviously, if you don't zero out the device, then obviously you've got data on there. So all the secondhand chips that you see online, you can just go in there and pull out people's data. Yeah, so where I'm at now with it is Wind River Linux. Apparently it's called Wind River now. They changed the name. Recently sold. They're an embedded, anyone that doesn't know what they are, I didn't know what they were, but they're like a embedded distro that goes in like missiles and things like that. And so John Deere uses that for their devices as well. And you can go on there because it's Linux based. I mean, it's a distro. You can go on there, actually download it, and boot it on your PC. So I think it's the Raspberry Pi QEMU version of it, which obviously you can put on a real Raspberry Pi. And the good thing about this is you can actually, I'll say that one in a sec, sorry. You can actually get files from the real device and put them in there, and then it'll just run, right? So inside the lost and found folder on one of the devices was all of the RPMs that they had used to build that one. So I didn't have to go through 4,000 RPMs to actually find out which ones I needed, but I just went into the trash folder, which was not cleaned. They forgot to empty the trash on the prod unit. So just went in there and downloaded all the RPMs and just force RPM, skip, check, whatever it is, no verify, all those packages and shoved them in. And it's actually running on a real Raspberry Pi, but it needs a bit of TLC, but I'm sure John Deere will be happy when that's ready. But so this is another some cool stuff. This is a device that a guy sent me from a no comment place. And that's a phone that actually resets the clock on the device every day so that it can skip the demo period. Just redo the demo every day so it doesn't have to pay for the actual software to be run on the device. I'm pretty sure it's a phone attached to it. Yeah, so just it works. So, yeah. Agriculture is super important, and there's literally no one looking at it. So it's probably, if you want to get involved, just hit me up. There's plenty of stuff to do. There's a lot of work to be done, and literally no one's looking at it. The hardware is so easy to get on eBay and, like I said, Facebook, things like that. And it's so easy to pull apart. It's unencrypted. You can get lots of them and just keep destroying them because they're dime a dozen, and farmers just like to throw them away because obviously they don't need them anymore. And literally, I'm just one guy living in Thailand. buying tractor parts on eBay, and I was able to get on to John Deere's nerves in quite a substantial way. Yeah, you can follow me on GitHub, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. Yeah, some cool stuff I wanted to show you as well is on top of that NAND flash reader is this other one that recently I got from them. It is really hard to see. I'll kind of like demo it actually, but it's the same size as the NAND flash that goes in there, but it's actually, I'll just hold up like that. It's actually a ribbon cable holder, like, those clips that those snap-on ribbon cables that so you solder that onto the NAND flash spot and then connect a ribbon cable to this one, and then you can actually hot swap the flash non-stop. You can just keep changing the flash, so you don't have to keep putting the hot air back onto it and risk destroying the chip. And this needs a bit of work, but it's mega cool. And I've been attaching these to everything because they're like, you can just keep editing the files on your PC, mounting it, shoving it back in here. You don't have to solder it back on, and then you can modify the file system willy-nilly and play with it. So capture creds, all that sort of stuff. What's the word for it? The certificates that are encrypted and things like that. You can pull them out. But yeah, that's my presentation. And if anyone has any questions or comments, go for it.
Have you looked into any product besides the gateway?
The display. I've actually been playing with the display. So I bought it for $6,000, I think. Well, it was donated to me. Sorry, someone paid for it, but they didn't pay for it. They said, "Oh, I have one of these." But yeah, that one's also got a LBJ 100, and taking that off the board, I'm having fun with that one. I'll be emulating that one eventually. But yeah, I've got 4 gateways and the display, and that's all there is really in the tractor. Because after that, you've got the ECU, which is not really super technical, and then, that's the only thing in the tractor with internet. And then, that's all there is. This hooks up to the Starfire. This is the MTG, the gateway. And then if you hook satellite, GPS? That GPS goes up to the Starfire that goes on the top. So the Starfire is just the actual antenna for the John Deere tractor. But yeah, there is a bit more in that receiver, but you can actually, there's a couple of hacks out there that have actually replaced that because that's just CAN bus. Maybe it doesn't go in. Oh, no, it comes in here. It's one of these ports. I'm pretty sure it goes in there. Like I said, I don't have a tractor, but I just play with these ones. So, but yeah, it's, I know a guy who's actually built a unit that will go in and, what's it called when you sit on the wire? Yeah, it'll man in the middle of the CAN bus, and it'll tell the unit that it's running a older version of the satellite, and you don't actually have to pay for the more expensive one. So yeah, it's quite funny. So, but yeah, it sits on the CAN bus. Yeah, go for it.
This is like a kind of 2-part question. So, John Deere is notorious for sucking with right to repair and preventing people from actually modifying or fixing their tractors. And then, at least in the US, the agriculture industry is like, you'll get thrown in jail if you try to take pictures of factories. And Oprah got threatened by the, meat industry for saying she wasn't going to eat meat. So the first question is how has John Deere reacted to you, and have you gotten any stuff from that? Because I know you've contacted them, and has the agriculture industry come down on you? And then the second question is the flip side of people who are doing right to repair or hacking their tractors. Are they kind of underground because they don't want to get sued, or is that a growing movement?
Well, a lot of people don't realize that you're actually allowed to modify some of your own equipment. Like I said, I'm just a guy living in Thailand, so I can do whatever I want, kind of. And I'm pretty sure you guys too, everyone in the US has the ability to, you can jailbreak your iPhones, And I'm not sure if it's classed as consumer electronics or vehicles, but I'm under the impression that you can jailbreak your own tractor. John Deere has had a headache with some of the stuff that I've done before. Last year, we had a big, like a teething problem. They didn't have a bug bounty, and we kind of eased into that together. So submitted a few bugs in the website, and it was like a historical kind of thing. And I was the first person in the bug bounty program. First person in, first person out, because I left because I don't like the NDA. Prefer to have fun and just not necessarily have fun, but like, you know, they've got a bug bounty now. So, yeah. The other part of your question was, what was it? The bit about
people from right to repair, or like people that are hacking their tractors. Are they doing it? Is it like the mod chip scene back in the day, where like people are doing it kind of surreptitiously, or is it?
Yeah.
Are they afraid to get in trouble?
There's yeah, you're allowed to mod tractors, and I think John Deere and its partners and things, they have the same sort of mods that do like they've got like bridges where you can put like the John Deere display in a case or a class tractor. And there's actually bridges for practically everything now. So you can put any equipment on any other tractor. So you can have like the same display running on all of the different John Deere tractors. Sorry, all the different tractors. But yeah, that's a super hack, and obviously that would never have been around before. Is it time or is it? Oh yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot of people modding them. There's a lot of mods out there. I'm kind of looking at some stuff. So yeah, but I don't want to spoil it.
Okay, cool. We do have time for one more question. Okay.
How did you get them to respond to your quick key questions? Because those are the details nobody would want to give. So what did you write, or they gave it to you because they already knew you or something?
Did you ask me why did I start this or something? Or?
No. So you asked them about the key, right? And they told you
the
that,
key.
Yeah, they gave you the details that, it is common on all the devices.
Yeah.
It is a dev key. Generally, companies won't give that information. So like, what did you write to them, or did they know you? And then
I had that in a slide. It's like a trick where you like ask the company if something's thing, and then you get the bug out of them. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so I didn't know because I only had one of them, and I was like, probably it's in every device. So I sent them an email, is this in every device? And they said yes. So then I know now. I don't actually have to get two now. And yeah, I do that with bug bounties too. You can send them a bug, and then they'll actually send you back like something like, oh, it's actually supposed to do this and this and this. And then you can go and like negate that with something else, and you actually end up finding the bug because of the person who's doing the triage. But yeah, it's a funny way of doing it. It happens all the time actually. Yeah. It's a neat trick. But yeah, just it's kind of like impeaching the triager, if that makes sense. Like spinning it back on themselves. But yeah, that's exactly. I honestly, like, I can't check every device. So I just asked them, literally just asked them, and they said yes. Yeah. Which was cool.
All right. Thank you so much. That was an amazing.